Hey guys, so if you have the Magtech CVC brass 12 gauge shells and you're looking for some pointers or load data for smokeless powder and not black powder, then this video is probably going to be for you. I'm going to try and keep it as short and to the point as possible and try not to ramble too much. So the first thing is you're going to want to go on Amazon and you're going to want to get you one of these. I think it was like 40 or 45 bucks. It is a Star Daddy ammo, I think is the name of it. But it does everything. You can do all your loading with just this one little machine here. It's all manual, but it'll work. I glued a little round piece on the priming side here just so it gives a nice flatter surface area to press the primer down. Because I just didn't like that little metal piece that was on there. So I glued that on there for me anyways. And then it also comes with the little crimp starter at the top for a plastic shell and everything else. But you're really not going to use that. The two most important things is this with the deprimer and then your packing rod. So I use this to deprime, but even better than that, get you a Lyman hand press. And then RCBS sells a 12 gauge shell holder. And you can put that on there and that works really good to prime them. And then so I use that to prime, and this to deprime right here. Okay. What I typically do is I'll add my powder, and the most important thing that I found, no matter what the load is, even if it's a full power load, if you do not compress it in these 12 gauge brass shells because of the larger case volume, it's almost always going to be a blooper. 9 times out of 10 it will be at least. So the first thing you're going to do is add your powder, and then you're going to want to pack it, add a card. Okay, so add your over powder card and pack it down really well. Make sure it's nice and tight and compressed. Okay, you're gonna want to go on Amazon and get you one of these. I think it was like $8, and this is 3/4 inch. And it punches these out. I use Mountain Dew in cereal boxes, and I usually put the colored side down like that, and it does really well for me. I've never had any issues. Over powder, I'll usually use 2 of them and double them up. After that, you can use whatever choice of wad that you want, whether it be fiber wad or however you want to build your wad column. I've had a lot of good luck with plastic wads, especially these 4 here. And you build your wad column, and then whatever your shot weight is, and then use another card or double stacked card at the top, and then hot glue it. Okay. Now on to the actual powder. So what you're going to want to do is what I found personally is a safe starting range for these brass shells is take whatever the book data is. So for instance, the book data on a Windjammer 7/8 of an ounce load for nitro 100 NF or tightwad is, I think, 16.5, between 16 and 17 grains. Okay, take that load and reduce it by 25%, and that's going to be a really good starting point. 9 times out of 10, that starting point, which in this case would be like 13 grains, is going to almost always be a blooper. But that's okay, because you're testing and you want to be safe and you want to work your way up. You can always add more powder, but you can't take it away if it blows the gun apart in your hands. So 25% reduction. Now, there's a caveat to that. I'm not talking about magnum powders like long shot or anything else. I have not done any extensive testing with those, and if I were to do something like long shot, I would strongly suggest you reduce it by like 40 or 50%. So if it says 30 grains, I would come down to like 14 or 15 grains to start. Because again, you can always work your way up 1 grain at a time until you hit the range where you're getting a nice accurate load. But typically with most field and target loads, whatever the book says, reduce it by 25%, and that's going to be a pretty accurate load. For instance, this last time, I took out the shells with my Mossberg bolt action, and I did identical loads with tightwad and nitro 100 NF, and coincidentally I found out after doing research they're pretty much the exact same powder, and they are. The load data is literally identical. I did 13, 14, 15, and 16, and then also different shot weights. So I did 7/8 of an ounce, 1 ounce, 1 1/8, and then 1 1/4, and then also some slug testing. And I found that even with the slugs, really when it comes to these brass shells, really doesn't matter what your wad setup is. You're going to want to build your wad to cater to what you're shooting, whether it be, you know, buckshot, birdshot, or a slug. But the weight is the weight. So if it's an ounce slug or an ounce shot, the powder charge is really going to be the same. The exact same powder charge, like 16 grains for 7/8 of an ounce. If you had a 7/8 ounce slug, it would be identical, and it's going to be an accurate load. In this case, these last ones I did 14 grains of nitro 100 NF, and these shot pretty well, and they were fairly accurate. But I should have took them up this next time to around 16 or 17, and I found that usually whatever the book data references for, you know, whatever that wad in particular load is usually pretty accurate with these brass shells. So what I typically do is I'll look at multiple shells. So I'll look at the Federals, the Winchester, you know, AA, you know, Remingtons, STS. I'll look at multiple different shells, and then I'll average them. And if I see out of those 4 or 5 different shells, most of them are saying 15 grains, 16 grains, 16.2 grains, 17 grains, I'll know, okay, that's my top end of the charge, and then I'll average them and then reduce it by 25%. And that's pretty much what you're going to do. And if you follow that rule, usually you're going to be pretty safe, and you'll quickly find where your load needs to be for these. But that's pretty much all I got. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments, and I'll try to answer you back as soon as possible. You guys have a good one.